Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the JHS show. John Henry Soto here tonight. Igor Martinez, he is the founder of L&I Studios right here in Bayonne, New Jersey. We're having a little technical difficulties, but I think he's actually on. I see him down there floating around, and we're we're going to get on now in a minute. Just want to thank everybody for watching tonight. And actually, you know what? Let's just get started because I had a little bit of stuff prepared in case he couldn't get on time, but he is here now. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Igor Martinez. All right, how are you, sir?
Good. Everything okay here?
Okay, good. I'm so glad you made it on. I know sometimes it gets a little tricky when you're going from a Chrome and the Chrome thing, and then an a Mac and a PC. I try to get as much stuff on that email, but it's just so much information to get on there. But I'm glad you're here. Awesome. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. So let's get started a little bit on where are you originally from?
I'm from Chile.
Wow. Awesome. And you've been here how long?
From 2002.
Oh, okay. You've been here a while. Awesome. And yeah. And the studio, tell me a little bit about that. What was your initial passion for starting the studio?
Well, I'm a sound engineer, and I was working in a live sound company, and I started to buy some gear here, there, and I'll decide to open my own studio.
Yeah. And when you did that, was it something that you thought, oh, okay, I'm just going to open up my own studio? Or was it something that you're like, oh my God, should I open up my own studio? Was there any hesitation?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I'm sure.
Yeah, actually, I started the studio in my basement.
Okay.
So I have a large room in my basement. I'll divide it in two. Make one as a control room, the other one as a live room. Okay. And I start acquire some gear here, there. So when I have enough for be able to record at least 24 tracks at the same time, is when I decide to open a bigger studio.
Yeah. And you have a great space there. How long have you been in this space?
From 2013.
Oh, okay. All right. So you've been there a good amount of time. So it's always fascinating to me on the engineering side of the world, because you have to have, not only do you have to have a good ear for music, obviously, but you also have to have your mind. You have to be clear. And I think we talked about this, right? We were talking a little bit in your studio about you have to be really clear-minded. You got to know if something is peaking. So if you have 24 tracks, like you said, or even more than that,
I have 32 here now.
So if you have all of them going, you have to be really, really on top of all that. Is that something that comes naturally to you, like in your life, or is that something you picked up on the way, or both?
I don't know. When I was in college, I figured that all the technical that I have to do from live sound and in the studio in college was really kind of not easy, but I kind of was getting it real quick. And so I don't know. Then I started learning in live sound. I work for a lot of live sound companies. So was over there, you have to be like one band after the other. So you have to be really fast in your inputs. What are you doing? Because you might be doing a festival and you're going to have, I don't know, at least 5 bands, one after the other, from salsa to rock,
Right.
So you have to move the channels from drum tracks. So if you don't have channels available, make it as percussions, and then put it back as drums. Yeah. So I work doing that a lot. So that gave me like a lot of practice doing that. So when I'm in the studio, it's like I can see all the inputs real quick. I can get that quick because I have practice doing that.
Yeah, and I think there's nothing better than actually doing it, right? Because I mean, a lot of people can go to school for it and you learn it, but then when you get thrown out in there,
yeah, well, that's different. Yeah,
completely different. So it really is about the doingness, especially in that type of work where and because you're in a classroom, you're dealing with people that are already their friends, they're part of the school also, and everything is in one contained place. But when you're out there, everything is coming from all over the place. You get hit with a lot of different things.
Actually, when you go to college, it's a good guide, but when you go up there is when you really learn.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a good idea to kind of know how to run the equipment and kind of just do the technical equipment, but the actual doing of the job, you got to get out there and you got to do it. It's sort of like playing live. Like you can be in your house playing, you play amazing, and you're like, right, you're playing great, and then you get put out on a stage, and then you're like, everything is completely different.
No, and yeah, it's not only that, is the technology changed so much. When I started doing sound,
oh, that's right,
it was all analog. The company that used to work, we have like 48 tracks, analog boards. So we have like 2 racks of effects that you have to patch everything. Just patch that take you like an hour at least.
Wow.
Just doing patching from the mixing board to your rack, And if you know what you're doing, you have your rack organized, so it's not a mess and it's a little faster, but still you have to patch everything.
Yeah. And
but now you have digital mixing boards that have everything on it.
Wow.
You don't have to patch anything. And you can even use it with an iPad and get access to effects, to compression, to EQs, all that. Like you have like 4 racks when we used to have like 2 racks. You have to decide where you put the compressors.
Right,
the vocals and here and there. Now you have compressors in every track.
Right. So is sound-wise, you having heard both, is there can you compare it? Can you say that the digital is the same? Like I don't know much about that technology, but would you say that you get the same sound from a digital board than the analog board?
Well, digital boards, you have everything on it.
Right.
They're clean.
Okay.
But the analog sound have like some texture that is different.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's probably like recording also, like when you record digital to analog or a record to a CD, right?
Yeah.
An old record from the 70s to a CD from the 90s of the same music, it's not the same.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, actually, when I do the mastering, I have an actual reel-to-reel, and I send the signal to the reel-to-reel and come back on the computer, just to give it a little bit of that analog sound.
Give it that texture that you mentioned. Do you like do you like technology?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, and when something new comes along, you're more, because like for instance, like for a guitar player, let's say, right? I've used old pedals, right? Boss pedals and those kinds of things for years. But then all this other stuff comes out, like the Line 6, right? Like you have that wonderful Line 6 in your studio that I use all the time, and it's like it sounds really good, and it kind of annoys me sometimes that it sounds so good, because I was like, I want to get my my Fender Deluxe or something and use that to get the sound I want. But you can get a lot of stuff with technology. So the snobbiness, of whatever is going in my head gets overtaken a little bit sometimes, because I'm thinking the Fender Deluxe sounds better. But the technology is pretty good on the Line 6, especially the newer ones, right? So you like when new stuff comes along?
Yeah. Yeah, I like to check them out and see how they sound. But for example, all the emulation, all that kind of stuff on guitars and bass, you used to hear the difference. But right now, the technology is so good that you can have it as a good recording. When you have in the studio, you record with a nice microphones and stuff. The way that they sound is they emulate pretty good now.
Right, because they model the sound, right? It's not the way
Yeah.
where it was digital. Like
Mm-hmm.
Digitech used to just digitize the whole thing, and now they actually take an actual sound, and I have no idea how the hell they do that. I mean, they're like
Yeah,
wizards.
me neither.
They're like witchcraft or something, but they somehow take the actual sound of a Fender Strat or whatever you want to emulate, and they put it in there. So I agree. I mean, the technology, the same thing with film. You know, like film, you get you get these amazing, amazing digital cameras that really just give you like incredible quality. I think
Yeah.
the just to get into film for a second, because I know you're starting to do a little bit more on that side as well, and I want to talk
Well,
about it because that's the
yeah.
exciting part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but what I was going to say was that I find it that the higher you go at like 4K, 5K, 8K, 100K, whatever K, it gets so clear, so crystal clear that you lose the whole point, like The Godfather, the film The Godfather, which was so, you know, it was so soft in so many areas. The whole film was just really warm, right? Would never work with that technology. You know, you couldn't get
Yeah.
those effects. You know, so I feel that sometimes they improve it so much that it's so clear that it's a little bit too much. I hope, you know, and I kind of don't want that to happen with the recording stuff. But with your ears, if you're saying that it's really good, then that's awesome. You know.
Yeah. Well, in sound is basically almost the same thing. Is the sound is digital, gets so clear, so clean,
Right.
and but on the end station, that's why I when I master it, I do reel to reel,
Right.
you know.
Just to give it that one.
So that little warmth, you know.
Yeah.
But the other good thing is when the sound is clear, it's easier for you to catch mistakes or things like that. You
That,
know what I mean?
that's true. Yeah, because
It's especially when you're recording, you know,
right.
if the guys don't have the guitars really on tune or stuff like that that is little, you hear more clear and you can or or the singers, you know, some noises that they do or stuff,
Hmm.
you hear it, you know.
Everything gets picked up. I think
Yeah.
if that technology was around when Led Zeppelin recorded, I think it would have ruined everything because they have so many mistakes in there, but they're brilliant albums. You know, it was just a different era. You know, where they just plugged everything in and tested everything out. And I want to ask you about that in the studio. Do you like, are you set in the way you record, or do you like to try new things and try to come up with like, you know, I've seen people throw pillows over amplifiers and sheets and bags and a whole bunch of stuff just to kind of isolate a certain sound or to create some type of different sound. Is that something that you mess around with, or are you pretty set with your?
Well, I used to mess around with a lot of stuff like that, putting like foam around.
Yeah.
And it all depends the sound that you want,
Mhm.
what you're doing. But I found out that when you put two microphones, one dynamic and one condenser, uh, both in there, you can get, yes, you put it right there on the speaker. Is I found out that when you mix, cuts cleaner in the mix. You know what I mean?
Mhm. So you don't have
It's like
much.
because it's different aspects. It's like when you record, you want to get a clean sound, but not maybe really the sound that the band want.
Ah,
Because when you mix, if your sound is clean, you can do whatever you want. You know
right,
what I mean?
right,
Not whatever you want, but you can get the sound that direction better.
right. So you mentioned bands, you know, working with bands. That's got to be interesting. Do they like, for instance, like because a lot of bands like to hear what they want to sound like, right? You know, like they right when they're playing. And I've done a lot of studio stuff where you're sometimes you're plugging into the board and you just have to give the track, just give the clean track to the engineer, and then have they'll add in their stuff. But a lot of bands want to just hear it, you know, going in. You know, they want to hear exactly what what they're playing. They want to sound like themselves as they're playing, right? Is that something that you run into with bands?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I try to get the sound that they want, you know, and when I record, I try to get a clean sound and closer as possible what they want. If clean is closer than what they want, then when you mix it, it's gonna be easier to get there,
It's
you
easier.
know.
Yeah.
And in the mixing board, I can give them some reverb, some compression, get it closer, you know,
Right. Right.
so they can hear it like more like how gonna be when it's mixed, you know. But they have to be aware that that's not the real mix of the song. It's just the recording.
Right. Yeah, I think that's the hard part because a lot of people that come into the studios, I don't think they have a lot of experience with
Mm-hmm.
studio. So
Yeah, a lot of people think that they're gonna go record multi-track and they're gonna walk out with a CD or something, you know?
print,
Yeah,
right, pressed right there.
yeah, right there.
So, so that also comes something that you have to do now. You have to educate them, right?
Hmm.
And you have to do that kind of delicately, obviously, because you don't want to press any, step on anybody's toes. But you have to kind of educate them on how the process works. Um, is it something that's easier for you to do now than it was in the beginning?
Yes, yeah, and I always ask what they want to do with the recording because a lot of bands they just want a demo, you
Right.
know, for show to get gigs, you
Hmm.
know. So you don't need to really do something that highest quality. You can do like a live session where you record everything
And
and you mix it real quick like live in the mixing board and give them that mix, you know.
okay,
That's something that you can do if it's something like that. But if it's somebody that try to do a recording like better quality, because that's gonna sound like a rehearsal, you know, like a high quality rehearsal or something like that, you know,
right,
still gonna sound like live.
right. It's not going to have the clarity of each part because
Yeah,
guitar might
yeah.
come a little bit louder on one section and then muffle out
Yeah,
the
yeah, because when you mix, you can auto the mix. So some parts the guitar can go lower, higher. Same thing with drums, you know.
right,
Sometimes the drummers tend to like be up there all the time, you know.
right,
Sometimes it's part of the songs that need to go down a little bit. If they don't do it, you can do a little bit, you know.
right, right.
You know, things like that, and
Yeah,
to give more dynamic on the music.
yeah. Are bands now more educated when they come in now because technology has gotten easier a little bit to record.
Hmm.
We have YouTube, right? And we go on there and we look at how to do stuff all the time. So you're getting more educated musicians,
Actually, younger people they 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 know you have to record and mix it and then do your masters.
right? So they understand that too. Yeah. So are you getting younger bands or all age bands right now?
All age.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
So when you're taking on a project, one of the things I've noticed, from engineers is that they really can't get too involved in the band's kind of stuff, right? If they're coming to you for like, let's say they just want you to record them, right? And they come to you and they'll ask you, do you think that should be this solo is better, or do you think that solo is better, or should I go play it like this, or should I sing it this way, or because then it goes into producing, right? And then so you have to kind of like draw a line between producing and recording, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
try to do that. I do my opinion here, there, one thing or two, but
right.
that's it. I'm not like really intervene
Yeah.
on the. And sometimes they ask you, "Oh, what do you think this is better here or there?" But producing is different. When you produce, you like intervene
Yeah.
in all the things that you think. Yeah, because sometimes you're recording somebody And if it's you, you might do something different there, in the change or something,
Right.
or but if it's their music and you're not the producer, you just then my job is try to get the sound that they want,
Right. Just
you
the
know,
best recording.
on the recording, try to give them what they asking for,
Yeah. So
but when I produce, I basically I select the microphones, I do everything,
yeah. So in let's I'm gonna ask you a little bit about producing, like producing 10 years ago to today. Besides the technology, what are you looking for that you feel now is more important than it was in the past, sound wise?
Sound wise.
I don't mean sound like the actual recording sound. I mean just the overall kind of music. Like if you were producing a group, what would you tell them? Okay, the most important thing is you need this. You need the singer has to be more upfront. We need more guitars. We need less guitars. We need more drums, less drums. That kind of thing. What do you think is like the most crucial thing right now in music that you think would be more popular or more successful for a group that you're producing?
All depends what they doing with their music.
Hmm.
It's like you have to think on the music, on what kind of band it is, uh, what they're doing, if they want like a darker sound. Because you're a producer, but you're gonna try to do what they want too,
Right.
what they're up to, you don't gonna make like a traditional jazz band be progressive,
Right.
Uh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you all depends what they want. You can have different options,
Hmm. So when
you know.
you're, yeah, do you think, because I mean, I've noticed there's been a change in music in the last 5 years, 5, 6 years, whereas this steady trap beat, this I don't even know, I can't even emulate it on, you know,
Well,
but
if I produce a band, for example, I always tell them like I want to get a live session, like
oh, okay,
I don't want to record. Like I want when I record drums, I want the guitar player playing, the bass player, everybody playing like it's a live session. Even if you just want to get drums and bass, for example, I usually try to get drums and bass together,
right,
to have like because you have to capture the energy too,
right. Yeah,
you
that's what
know?
I asked because there's so many tricks that you can do with Pro Tools.
Yeah, because I all depends. A lot of bands like be like the steady beat, like could be right there, But if they want that, it's okay. But if I'm producing, I suggest, well, sometimes you put more energy and stuff in that little upbeat that you do on drums. So that little thing here, there, that goes good with the song,
Right,
And, you know, I try to get live at least drums and bass.
right. Yeah,
And
because
then you can add guitars. And a lot of times, if the musicians are good, you even keep the guitar,
mm, right,
Sometimes if I have that energy too, and that's why when I record, I try to put microphones and everything, like I gonna keep everything, you
okay.
know,
See, I
because you never know.
never know
You
what.
never know. And the other way is like if you're done with drums, you can jump on guitar right away and you don't have to change microphone, nothing. It's all set up already.
It's all set.
If the guitar player wanna overdo guitars, put that solo on it or whatever, it's
Right.
set up already, you know?
Right, right. Yeah, because I mean, I was in the studio in a studio in New York City years and years ago, and I remember we had a couple of good places that we went to. Larry Hamill, I don't know if he's watching, but he was fantastic. We recorded our last record with him. But before that, in the studio, the engineer was very okay. We do drums to like a rough guitar track, nothing else playing, just the drums. Then you go in again, and then in the on the couch, I'm laying the guitar, sitting on the couch, like, behind the engineer. And then the vocals come in last after everything. And it was put together with such pieces that it didn't feel like we were even playing in a band. It felt like we were I don't know, we were working some kind of an assembly line at Ford Motors or something, where it was just putting things on a conveyor belt, and then at the end he just cranked it up and it came out with the song, and it didn't sound bad, but when we hear it again, it didn't sound like we were playing it, you know.
Yeah.
My
So
emotion was on me.
yeah, you lost all that energy
Yeah,
on it.
and yeah, exactly. It didn't have the energy. So that's an important thing. So you always do that. Do you use a lot of click tracks with drummers?
Yes, yeah. I try to use click tracks. Yeah.
Because you don't want them getting too low. Because drummers tend to. I mean, not
Basically, so they can have a steady beat, and I can edit
right.
later on easier with a click track,
Yeah.
because the speed gonna be the same, on the drummer.
Yeah, and you record pretty much. I guess any band, depending on what the bands are. A jazz band as opposed to a heavy metal band.
Hmm.
Pretty much the whole setup is basically the same, right? I mean, it's nothing different other than just
Yeah, I've been recording from jazz bands, gospel, metal bands like classic rock, uh, all kind of music, more acoustic. I
Mhm.
did a rock orchestra gig too,
Oh wow,
here with violins, cellos, bass,
wow,
with horns, trombones, with everything.
that's amazing.
Uh, yeah, and with drums, electric guitar, bass, like rock orchestra.
That's
Yeah, it was like entire orchestra. We record like section by section.
yeah.
We did the drums, um, bass, then we did guitars, and then we started doing all the orchestra.
Wow.
And the composer have the entire orchestra parts on keyboard. So
Oh,
when we record drums, I have his tracks playing, but it's like keyboards to have a guide,
have an idea to know where you are.
where everything goes. And then that's how we did drums, bass. Then we start lay down all the orchestra,
Yeah.
you know.
So it's like a
So for example, if we gonna record violins, I'll just take out the violin keyboard that he has and
right,
just leave the real violins.
right. So it's a lot of it is like putting a puzzle together, basically. It's making sure you have all those and organizing it. Because that's
Yeah.
also a
Yeah,
big.
the good thing I was working with a really good composer, and he have everything figured out. He have his scores.
Oh, he had all his charts and everything.
Yeah, have his score. So, and I know how to read music, not expert, but I understand the score. So he gave me one, so I kind of know what's coming, what's not.
Oh, okay.
What section have violin, because the violin is, for example, not the entire composition. It's
Yeah.
in some sections. So yeah, that way it was easier to work too.
Yeah. So,
Because but at the end we ended up with like 68, I think, tracks.
oh wow.
Yeah.
So you had to bounce some tracks, I guess, to get that.
No, I mix all that. Yeah, I can mix a lot of tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So during this whole craziness that we've been going through now, I think there's a lot of people that had a little bit more time at home and realizing, maybe they had a guitar in the corner they haven't touched in a long time, and they started kind of like messing around again, and maybe picking up an old, or even starting up a profession again that they had in the past. Um, what should somebody do? Like, let's say they're interested in recording, right? They have these songs, and I'm speaking for myself because I've had this kind of going on in my head for a very long time, and I'm actually doing it now. Actually, I'm rehearsing in your studio. Eventually, I'll record there. But what should somebody do? Like, let's say they're interested in recording right now. When they're coming to you, what's some of the advice that you're going to give them? They've never been in the studio before. What's some of the advice that you would give them so when they show up, they're prepared?
Well, first, if they have more musicians, if they have a band, for example, at least percussion, bass, and guitar,
Mm.
or if what kind of music it is, I mean, like if they're gonna be just guitar and them with a little percussion in the back, or they want something like more rock compositions, you know. If they have the musicians, the first thing that I tell them, like, practice the songs, you know, be ready for the studio, because in the studio you're gonna be paying for all that time.
Right,
When I have everything set up, you can go one song after the other,
right,
you know.
yeah,
If you practice the song so you don't stay taking too many takes of the one song, you
right.
know.
So be prepared.
Or if they don't have musicians or nothing and they want to put up something,
Hmm.
well, in that case I help them to get some musicians here there. And the first thing that we have to do is record like singing with a guitar with a click track and give it to the musicians so they learn the songs, you know.
Okay, so yeah, so be prepared is basically the because people think that you just go to the studio, but they don't realize that that's first of all, it's time that you're spending, and not just that, but you also can get very frustrated if you're there and you're not prepared. If there's one guy that really doesn't know the songs and he's messing up, and you're paying for the time, it ruins everything, and then you got anger. I've seen it happen.
Exactly, yeah. And then a lot of bands sometimes have anger between them.
Right?
It's always one guy that don't practice, and you know,
Yeah, yeah,
and all the stuff. And the other thing is, when you're in the studio you hear everything better, you know. You touch the guitar, you do whatever, you hear your guitar, you know.
yeah.
Sometimes on headphones you don't hear that much, and headphones are always like, they never sound good.
Right.
But it's like a guide. You do the song, but then when you go in the control room, you hear the guitar, and sometimes one little thing
Yeah,
bother you. You know?
sure, if it's off.
Yeah. So, or one finger that wasn't in the right position. Then when you did the
Right,
first accord, didn't sound
right.
exactly how you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, sure. You get a little buzz happening on one
Yeah.
note,
So,
just was buzz.
it's
Ah,
Yeah, well, you can punch and do different things too. If for example something like that happened with a guitar and the drums are good, bass is good, uh, and you like the guitar, for example, if it's acoustic guitar and you really like as a rhythm acoustic guitar,
just
you
one.
can punch a little piece and that's it.
Yeah,
Be done with it, because if the rest is okay.
yeah,
Now, if you have to fix many things, it's better to do another take, you know, and you have to, all depends, you have to do a little pre-production on the songs too, you know,
right.
because you have to do first just rhythm guitars, you know. If, for example, a lot of bands, they have a rhythm and then go into a solo, well, now you have to just keep going doing your rhythm, you
Mm,
know.
yeah. So,
That's why I like to get like live takes first for drums, so the guitar player can play like live, like rhythm and then solo, whatever, because then you do the rhythm and the solo, you
right,
know, and
right.
different tracks and stuff like that, you know.
And with Pro Tools, you use Pro Tools. I don't know. Is that what you use?
Yes. Uh-huh.
There's just it's such a massive, massive program. And it seems to just get bigger, and there's so many what do you call those things that you inputs and whatever you get for those for Pro Tools. You can do so much with it, but at the same time, it's like I sometimes you can do too much with it. Like you don't need
Yeah.
you to you don't need to do that much. It's sort of like like editing in film, right? They give you all these options for like fade ins and fade outs and all these different types of weird transitions, and you're like, I'm never going to use that. Like, why would I ever use a transition of a ball spinning? Like, for what would I ever use that? But they give you too much, and then you get tempted to want to use a couple of those weird things. Do you ever have to like kind of control yourself and be like, okay, you know what? Instead of punching in seven things, because you know you can do it, let's just do a retake. or what's easier for you?
Yeah, I do use a few plugins when I'll mix,
Hmm.
but for example, you can use a lot of plugins but not overdo them, you know?
Right.
Because when you start practicing, for example, in guitars, that these plugins, for example, this compressor give you good highs, and is another EQ that works really good for guitar too, you know. So
Right.
you put everything online and you start trying, and sometimes you ended up using two things, but sometimes if all depends if you want kind of raw sound or you want something that sounds more sophisticated, more clean. I don't know,
Hmm.
with more, because it's bands that want that sound, that sounds really produced.
Yeah.
So then you use more stuff and get cleaner and get this with more body, more this there.
Yeah.
And but it's easier to overdo. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to be aware of that. I always, when I open a plugin and I using it, then I bypass it and see the difference,
Yeah. Yeah.
within, without, and if it's really helping me or not,
Right.
you know.
Right. And I think
So
that's it,
you
right?
open it up, you use it, but at the end you have to figure out if you want to keep it or not,
Right.
because sometimes you use it and you think it's sounding really good, and then you bypass it and found out that your other guitar without it sounds better.
Right. And I think that's the bottom line, right? If it's useful, if it's useful, if it makes the thing sound better, if it's actually something that's making the production just sound better, or
Yeah, that's the bottom line.
bottom line, yeah. So
If it,
when you're a produced, like a well-produced album, like there's a lot of things on you hear on the radio that's so produced, so much so that I feel it loses itself. Like a lot of pop radio, pop stuff. I'll give you an example. And I like the band. I don't have anything, but like Maroon 5 had an album out. Maybe it was I don't remember which album one it was, but it was so it was like glass. It was so like broken glass. It was so sharp and so upfront. It wasn't bad or anything, but it was just so produced that I thought to myself, I don't even know what they really sound like, to be honest. I
yeah,
just
yeah,
felt like they were just a bunch of plugins and just everything sharpened really, really. And again, very catchy songs and very, a good, great singer and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, you know, what do you prefer? As a producer, I mean, you obviously want to produce. What's overproducing like?
well, if it's something more like pop, you can overproduce, but if it's something more rock, I like to try to leave it more raw.
Yeah,
All the not leave it raw, produce it, like use effects and stuff, but not overdo stuff. Be very aware that what is helping you and what is not.
right,
And when you're using a plugin, and if you feel that it's not helping you, yes, take it out of there right away. You
right,
know,
right,
it's not. Don't try to keep playing with it and
right.
trying to make it fit on it. If when you try and you think that was helping you and didn't help you,
Mm,
just take it away and try something else, or don't try anything.
yeah. What's an album that you can think of right now that was um, perfectly produced to you?
I don't know.
No.
Uh, I don't know. I like a lot of albums, but all of them. I don't know if I'm able to say this is my favorite, but I have a bunch of favorite. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Because most of them is like different sounds. Like, for example, from Pink Floyd
Mm,
to White Zombie. You
okay.
know,
Yeah, different, completely different.
so that's what I'm saying. It's like, yeah. I don't know, but I like in general Pink Floyd how they sound.
Yeah, yeah. They
Uh,
seem to have like a an incredible whatever they did in the studio was just very well balanced.
mm-hmm.
You know, I think they're bands that have like the Beatles were sort of a studio band, right? I mean, they toured a little bit, but then they were just kind of a studio guys, and they really got to mess around and did a bunch of things in the studio. And when the studio really didn't have a lot of stuff, right? They had like what 8 tracks or something, to work with. So when you look at these old records like Pink Floyd or you know Zeppelin or the Stones, old Stones, um, do you listen to like what they were using? Like, are you like me? Like, if I'm watching a film, I'll be like, oh, okay, I see why they put the camera there, or what I don't know. Sometimes it messes me up. I wish I didn't have that, but do you do that when you listen to a track or even a new song? Like, how do you listen to it? What are your ears like when you're listening? What are you listening for?
uh, I don't know if it's the music is balanced, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's have good bass, good highs, well balanced,
Mhm.
because a lot of music, a lot of newer sounds, for example, you found the guitar is too on front, in my opinion, a
Right.
lot of times, or the drums are too on front, it's like they're not balanced. And they sound spectacular with a lot of production and stuff, but sometimes guitar too on front, like even the guy is singing and the guitar is like on front.
Right. Could that is that I think that might be something that might be popular.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it is something that is kind of popular, but that's something that if the band wants that, I'll do it. But if it's my production, I'm gonna try to keep everything balanced where you can hear everything.
Right. And I mean that's the difference between like overproduced and then just well produced, where you can hear everything, everything is balanced. You're enjoying the song, not taken away, because there's some songs that you get taken away from the experience of the song if something is too upfront. You know,
Yeah.
as far as produced, I don't know if you watch Rick Beato. He's on YouTube. He has
No.
a YouTube channel. His name is Rick Beato. He's a producer, and he talks a lot about studio stuff and whatnot. But he was listening to like the top 10 songs of on Billboard. The ones that are popular now. And I was surprised that he was so impressed with the production of some of these songs that I think maybe just because for whatever reason, maybe I was being a little bit too hard on, like I was just being too tough on these songs and stuff and just kind of making them feel like I don't appreciate what was there, but because he has the ears that you have, he really was able to see the production and how good the production was on some of these songs that I really didn't think that were great songs. The songs themselves were not like Pink Floyd songs, you know what I mean? But as far as production, he says they were very well produced. So I think that that's one of the things that you probably have to deal with a lot too, is where you have to kind of like, this music may not be the thing that the thing, but I'm going to produce it extremely well, and I'm going to put my attention on that. Does it get hard for you sometimes when you're putting something together that,
No.
no, you do the job?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
It's like if you're hired to do something, you try to do your best, you
right.
know?
It's personal integrity, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you mentioned when we were over there, you mentioned that you had a lot of you were recording a lot of artists. What was it you were recording? You more gospel. You were
I done some gospel,
Yeah.
jazz. Uh,
So that's been more recently, right? You were saying that it's a little bit more.
mhm. Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, with really good musicians.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I've been recorded a few gospel bands with when all of them is really good musicians.
Yeah.
Sometimes they get here, they don't even know the song, but the gospel have some structure that they know, you know.
Right. Right.
So they just get the song, they clean it, they do 2 runs, and the third one is recorded, and that's it.
Wow.
And they go from the song from the beginning to the end.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of times I'm like, wow, these guys are and with runs on bass, with really nice keyboard and drums going all over the place.
Yeah. So really,
But going all over the place, but good, you know, on time, like when they have to do it, you know, on transitions and stuff like that.
it's nothing better than a professional group of musicians that can just boom, just do that, right? It's such a beautiful.
Uh-huh.
I want to talk a little bit about what your current thing is setting up in the studio right now, because we've had a lot of live things happen in the world, right? Because of the current situation. And one of the things that we were talking about was streaming, right? Which is what we're doing right now. And so you're setting up your studio. Last time I was there, you had lights, you had it set up beautifully for live streaming, right?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, the idea during the pandemic, I modified the studio a little bit, thinking on, well, now live online gonna be the new life for everybody. Even if we don't have pandemic on the future, this is gonna stay, you know.
Right.
So I decided to set the studio most as like a stage. I changed the drums to another room. I open it up, and I have some floor monitors like on a stage. I put some lighting on it, and now I'm waiting for a couple cameras and a switcher, and I'm gonna start streaming bands live, you know.
Wow.
And I have a digital mixing board where I can mix everything. So the idea is they get earlier. I have a light controller and I have the video switcher. So the idea is they rehearse a little bit. I mix them, and I'm gonna have the lights with me to change, because it's all LED with DMX. So I can control all the lights, and I control that. I have the video switcher for streaming, and with a good sound, you know, with a digital mixing board where I can control everything.
So this is completely new, you know. It's not it's almost like you can't really go and research too much, because not that many people. I mean, there are people doing it, and people have been live streaming a lot, you know, and especially music and stuff. It just hasn't been really put in the forefront the way it has during the pandemic. Where are you kind of getting your knowledge from, you know, putting all this stuff together?
Well, because I done a lot of live shows from everything, from bands to pharmaceuticals to all kind of festivals. So they use a lot of video and lighting and all that. And because I've been doing that for so many years, you talk with the other techs and you learn stuff. I have to, in some shows, after I set up the sound, I have the lighting guys, you know, I have the video guys. Sometimes we have to set up a lot of LED screens, you know, different stuff. And that's how I learned everything about video and lighting. And now I know how to program lights, use controllers and all that. And sometimes when you start learning, sometimes they send you a show, you do sound and light, because sometimes shows that are so small that you just have like a lighting board, you have a few lights, some small sound system, you know, and they send you and do lights and sound, you know.
Right. So with the live streaming though, how is that going to work? So somebody will come in, a band, let's say, right? They have, you know, hopefully they're well rehearsed. They come in and they say, okay, we're gonna do a live stream, and then they get to stream it on their platforms.
Yes.
Okay, so then
my service gonna be, I wanna do it multi-platforms, so I can stream in my platforms and theirs.
Okay. Oh, that's
You
awesome.
know,
Okay, great.
if they have any platform, we do it live on their platforms too.
Right. So then they can promote it saying, hey, we're going to be live. And then there'll be a whole other, like a show.
Yeah, and they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
Promote it and do all that.
it's such a great thing because you could also have like not necessarily band. I mean, you could have bands come in, but it could also be like an event for your company as well.
Hmm.
So you just bring in five bands. Hey, you want to be live on my stream? Tomorrow night, whatever, and or whatever next month, and you set it up, and you have five bands come in on one night, and you just stream live bands all night on your platforms and a bunch of other platforms that you can find,
Yeah.
and there's your Friday night out for people at home, listening to.
Well, yeah, I'm trying. I wanna start produce like actually Friday night shows. Like I wasn't thinking in five bands. I was thinking in one or two.
Yeah, yeah, I'm crazy, so I'm like 10
But
bands.
I wanna start with one band to make it easier because I still have to learn in
Oh,
video a lot what to do on streaming, and
sure,
this is a learning process for me too.
right, definitely.
So I want to start with one live productions that I do. I put it in my live streaming, and but then bands that want to hire that's gonna be something different.
Right,
It's not my production.
right. So let me ask you, being in Bayonne, New Jersey, we also go live on the Olive Bayonne page, so we're being watched right now on the Olive Bayonne page. Being in Bayonne and having a business in Bayonne, and now that we're, the pandemic situation, and we're kind of hopefully, God willing, coming out of it soon. What messages do you want to give to Bayonne and just basically just people that are out there, musicians, about your studio?
Well, I can say this is I think it's a very affordable studio with a really good quality sound and with an experienced engineer. I have a lot of years working in here, and they're welcome to come in. And I like to help people to do their productions. It's like if I'm not the producer, I'll try to help anyway.
Right, right,
Uh, I try to figure out what they want, give them guide if they need to.
right.
And try to work with them. And one of my ideas to have in the studio is try to have the best quality they can afford and don't charge too much for it. Be just fair.
Right, right. Yeah, and that's your reputation in Bayonne because a lot of people that I've met that knew you before I met you, said the same thing. They was, oh, you got to go to Igor. Igor's the best. He's got a great place down there. He's fair. He's a really nice guy. Mick, that I've been playing with what I'm doing right now, said the same thing. That's why we're there. So it's a really great studio. It's a great space. Well, what's the address and phone number so people can give you a holler?
Yes, it's 47 Kennedy Boulevard.
Mhm.
It's in Kennedy Boulevard, right next to the bridge between Second and Third. And the phone number is 201. I forgot the number.
That's okay. I'm gonna
I
put it.
forgot the number.
I'll put it all in the description, so don't worry about it. Just call
Because
me.
these interviews are new for me, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're probably gonna be doing more of these, so you gotta
I
get used
cannot
to it.
do. Yeah, I cannot do a lot of things in my head at
Yeah,
this time.
that's okay. So actually, what I want to do is real quickly. Since we're here and it's our time, right? It's our show right now, so why not? So let's 201 471.
471-2068.
There you go. So I had it on the screen. I just wanted to pop it up just so we can have it. Awesome.
Yeah,
So
I
Igor,
did remember it.
good job. So Igor, thank you so much. I know that you and I are going to be seeing each other. Also, like I've said before, I want to help you get that streaming thing off the ground, whichever, any way I can, by bringing, whatever experience I have in my brain, to help you as well. And I'm really looking forward to seeing, to seeing more. And everyone out there, please, please, if you have a band, if you know a band, if you have musicians, if you want to record, this is the place to do it. It is here at this studio, L&I Studios in Bayonne, New Jersey. Igor Martinez. Igor, thank you so much for being on. I can't believe it. It's already been an hour that we've been chatting.
Yeah. No, thank you. And it's great to talk to you. Actually, the hour passed really fast. We were like talking like here in the studio.
I know, exactly. Yeah, we were there about an hour also, I think.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being on. I appreciate it. We will definitely talk to you soon. Okay?
Thank you. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. That was awesome. That was awesome. So there he is, Igor Martinez, super, super nice guy. I can't imagine going anywhere else in Bayonne. Well, maybe I don't know everywhere else in Bayonne, but he is definitely the guy that you want to actually call. And, I'm going to give you the phone number one more time just so you guys can have it. It's 201-471-2068. And it's at 47-51 Kennedy Boulevard. It's literally at the bridge. You see the bridge right there. So thank you everybody for tuning in. I appreciate y'all. I'll see y'all again next week. And